Admiral J. Kang stood in the center of the Galactic Council chambers and tried not to smile. Around him, dozens of alien species sat in their floating seats, looking down at him like he was a child who had wandered into an adult meeting. The chamber was massive, built to hold representatives from 300 different worlds. Crystal walls reflected light from a nearby star, making everything glow with soft colors. Next to Jay stood Ambassador Una Park, Earth's top diplomat. She was younger than him, but her eyes were sharp and missed nothing. She had spent months preparing for this moment, learning about every species in the council, studying their customs and languages. Now she stood quietly, her hands folded, watching the aliens whisper to each other. High Arbiter Velron rose from his seat at the center of the chamber. He was tall, maybe 3 meters, and his body looked like it was made from purple crystal. When he moved, light danced across his surface. His voice boomed through the chamber, translated instantly into every language. "We have reviewed Earth's petition," Velron said. His tone was the kind adults used when talking to small children. "Your species wishes to join the Galactic Council. You want access to our trade routes, our defensive networks, and our knowledge databases." "That is correct," Jay said. His voice was calm and steady. Velron gestured to a floating screen that appeared in the air. Data scrolled across it, showing Earth's technology assessments. "Your species uses fusion drives for space travel. Primitive by our standards. You still fire physical projectiles as weapons. How nostalgic. Your fastest ships take months to cross your own solar system." Laughter rippled through the chamber. A blob-like creature in the left section made a sound like bubbling water. A bird-like alien with 4 wings covered its beak with 1 wing, its body shaking with amusement. "We understand our technology is different from yours," Una said carefully. "That is why we seek partnership. We can learn from you and perhaps we can offer something in return." "Offer us something." An insect-like creature with multiple eyes clicked its mandibles. "Dear child, what could you possibly offer? Your planet has barely left its own atmosphere. You discovered faster-than-light communication only 5 years ago by accident." More laughter. Jay noticed that not all the council members were laughing. A few watched with careful eyes. Good. Some of them were smart enough to be cautious. Velron held up one crystalline hand. The chamber fell silent. "Earth, we appreciate your enthusiasm, but the Galactic Council has standards. We cannot accept every species that manages to send a radio signal into space. You need at least Class 3 technology to be considered. You are barely Class 1. How long until we can reapply?" Una asked. "Oh, perhaps 50 of your years? Maybe 100? Velron tilted his head, which Jay had learned meant amusement. "Focus on developing your civilization. Learn to cross your own star system efficiently. Then maybe we can talk again." Jay saw movement in the back of the chamber. A reptilian creature with red scales leaned forward, its yellow eyes fixed on the display showing Earth's location. The Vreks. Jay had read about them, conquerors. They took over primitive worlds and used them for resources and slaves. The Vreks representative's tongue flickered out, tasting the air. "If we may," a tentacled creature spoke up. "The humans have spirit. Perhaps we could grant them provisional status? Allow them to observe and learn?" "Absolutely not," Velron said firmly. "We tried that with the Kalori. It took them 300 years to reach Class 3, and they had natural abilities far beyond humans. These creatures have nothing special about them. No telepathy, no energy manipulation, no advanced biological systems. They are just humans, just humans." The words hung in the air. Jay felt Una tense beside him, but he touched her elbow gently. "Stay calm. This was going exactly as they expected. We understand," Jay said. He smiled, and it was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of a man who knew something others did not. "We came here in peace. We followed your protocols. We showed you what you asked to see. And it was delightful," Velron said, dismissing them with a wave. "But insufficient. Perhaps in another century you will be ready." Jay turned to leave, but paused. He looked back at the council, at the hundreds of species who thought they knew everything about humanity. "We will remember this meeting," he said quietly. "We will remember that you made your decision without asking questions, without curiosity, without wondering why a species that is barely Class 1 managed to build a ship capable of crossing 500 light-years to reach you." The chamber went quiet for a moment. Then Velron laughed. "Ah yes, your one ship. Very impressive. You must be very proud. One ship you know about," Jay said. Then he and Yuna left the chamber. Outside in the docking bay, Lieutenant Hana Lee waited by their shuttle. She was young, only 25, but she had sharp instincts. "How did it go, sir?" "Exactly as predicted," Jay said. He looked up at the stars through the transparent dome above them. "They think we are children playing with toys." "Good," Hana said. She handed him a data pad. "Message from home. The Admiralty wants to know if we should proceed with Phase 2. Jay looked at the pad, then at Yuna. The ambassador nodded slowly. "Tell them to continue as planned," Jay said. "But stay quiet. Let the galaxy think we are harmless for a little longer." As their shuttle left the station, Jay watched the Galactic Council chambers shrink behind them. Somewhere in that station, the Vrex representative was probably already planning an attack on Earth. They saw easy prey, a primitive world with no protection. Jay almost felt sorry for them. Almost. Back on Earth, in hidden shipyards scattered throughout the solar system, 300 warships continued their final preparations. Weapons that the galaxy had forgotten about, considering them too primitive, too simple, were loaded and armed. Humanity had spent 70 years watching the galaxy, learning its weaknesses, understanding how it fought. The Galactic Council thought they knew everything. They would learn different soon enough. Yuna broke the silence in the shuttle. "Do you think we did the right thing? Hiding what we are really capable of?" Jay looked at her. "The galaxy has been peaceful for too long. They have forgotten what it means to face a species that grew up fighting itself. They have never met anyone who turned war into an art form out of necessity." He smiled grimly. "They called us just humans like it was an insult." "They will learn what those words really mean." The shuttle jumped to faster than light speed, leaving the Galactic Council behind. In the station, the Vrex representative was already sending messages to his warlords, marking Earth's coordinates on their invasion maps. The countdown had begun, and nobody in the galaxy realized it yet. 6 months passed since Earth's rejection by the Galactic Council. In that time, the Vrex Dominion had been busy. Warlord Thek studied the data about Earth over and over, his red scales gleaming in the light of his command ship. Such a perfect target, a single habitable world, primitive technology, and no allies. His fleet of 40 warships would be more than enough. They do not even have proper shields. His second-in-command hissed with pleasure. "Our first bombardment will break them." Thex clicked his claws together. "We will take the planet intact. The humans will make excellent workers. Their world has good water and breathable air. It will become our colony." The Vrex fleet entered the solar system with great confidence. They had done this hundreds of times before. Small worlds, primitive species, easy conquests. This would be no different. Captain Minho Choi sat in his command chair aboard the Earth defense ship Indomitable and watched the Vrex fleet appear on his screens. He was a calm man, even-tempered, with gray hair at his temples despite being only 42 years old. Next to him, Lieutenant Sora Kim monitored the weapon systems with focused intensity. 40 ships, Sora said. Class 3 technology. Energy shields, plasma weapons, and fusion missiles. Just as intelligence predicted, Minho said. He tapped his communication panel. "All ships, this is Indomitable. Maintain dark running. Let them get closer." The Vrex fleet moved deeper into the solar system, heading straight for Earth. They broadcast their demands in multiple languages. Their message arrogant and simple. "Surrender now or die. They are passing Mars orbit," Sora reported. "Let them come," Minho said softly. On the Vrex command ship, Warlord Thex frowned. Why do they not respond? "Where are their defense ships?" "Our sensors detect nothing, Warlord. Perhaps they are hiding on their planet." Thex laughed. "Cowards. They know they cannot fight us. That was when Earth's orbital defense grid came online. Hundreds of platforms that had been hiding, running silent and cold, suddenly lit up across the solar system. Weapons that had been built in secret, tested in the darkness of space, locked onto the Vrex fleet. What is this?" Thex roared. "Where did these come from?" Before anyone could answer, 13 Earth ships appeared from behind Luna, the moon. They had been waiting there, powered down, invisible to Vrex sensors. The Indomitable led them, followed by destroyers and cruisers that the Galactic Council had never seen. "This is Captain Minho Choi of the Earth Defense Force." Minho broadcasted on all frequencies. "You came to our home system with weapons armed and demanded our surrender. We decline. You have one chance to leave." The Vrex laughed. 40 ships against 13? The humans were insane. Fire! Thex commanded. Plasma bolts and fusion missiles streaked toward the human ships. The Vrex expected to see them destroyed instantly. Instead, they watched the human vessels simply move out of the way. The Earth ships were faster than they should be, more agile than anything the Vrex had fought before. "Return fire," Minho said calmly. "Sora, you may begin." Lieutenant Sora Kim smiled. She had been waiting for this moment for 3 years. Railgun systems active, firing. The Indomitable's main weapons fired. They were not energy weapons. They were physical projectiles, solid tungsten rods accelerated to 30% the speed of light. The Vrex had shields designed to stop plasma and lasers, energy weapons that the galaxy had used for thousands of years. The railgun rounds went through their shields like they were not even there. 3 Vrex ships exploded instantly, torn apart by the kinetic impact. The rounds did not just pierce the hulls, they vaporized everything they touched. The energy released was equivalent to nuclear weapons. "What are they using?" Thex screamed. His ship rocked as another round passed too close, the shockwave damaging his hull. "Projectiles, Warlord. Physical mass accelerated to impossible speeds. That is primitive technology. How is it so effective?" The answer was simple. The galaxy had moved to energy weapons and forgot about kinetic weapons. They had shields that could stop almost any energy beam, but nothing to stop solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. Humanity had studied this weakness and exploited it perfectly. "Launch missile swarm," Minho ordered. From the human ships, thousands of small missiles launched. They were not large or impressive looking. The Vrex tried to shoot them down, destroying hundreds, but thousands more kept coming, moving in complex patterns, dodging and weaving. "What are these?" a Vrex gunner shouted. "They are too small to damage us." Each missile contained a small amount of antimatter. When they hit the Vrex ships, matter met antimatter and annihilated. The explosions were blinding, releasing pure energy. Vrex shields flickered and died. Hulls cracked open. Atmosphere vented into space. Warlord Thex watched his fleet die around him. This was not possible. The humans were primitive. The Galactic Council had said so. But his ships were falling like prey animals before a predator. "Retreat," he screamed. "All ships retreat." But the human ships were faster. They used their fusion drives not just to move, but as weapons. Superheated plasma jetted out from their engines, burning at millions of degrees. When a human destroyer flew past a Vrex cruiser, it pointed its engine at the enemy ship and fired its drive at full power. The Vrex ship melted. Sora Kim coordinated the battle with cold precision. She had studied warfare history, ancient human battles on Earth. She knew how to surround an enemy, how to cut off escape routes, how to create chaos and fear. The Vrex had conquered many worlds, but they had never fought anyone like humans. "Target their command ship," Minho said. "The big one in the center." "Locked," Sora confirmed. Thex saw the targeting indicators appear on his screens. He tried to turn his ship away, tried to flee. It was too late. The Indomitable fired a single railgun round. It struck the command ship in the center, passing completely through it from bow to stern. The ship broke in half, explosions blossoming along its length. But Thex survived, his command pod ejecting at the last moment. He watched in horror as the rest of his fleet was destroyed. 17 minutes. That was all it took. 40 warships reduced to debris in 17 minutes. One Vrex ship managed to escape, its captain smart enough to run immediately. Minho let it go. Someone needed to bring the message back to the galaxy. As the battle ended, Minho stood and walked to the viewing port. Debris floated everywhere, the remains of the Vrex fleet glittering in the sunlight. "Send a message to the Galactic Council," he said quietly. "Use the emergency frequency." "What should we say, Captain?" his communications officer asked. Minho smiled slightly. "Tell them the Vrex Dominion came to conquer Earth. Tell them we defended ourselves. And tell them—" He paused, thinking of High Arbiter Velron's dismissive words. "Tell them we call this Tuesday. On Earth, Admiral J. Kang received the battle report. He sat in his office, looking at the data, the timestamps, the efficiency of the victory. Everything had gone according to plan. Only one Vrex ship escaped." He asked Yuna, who stood nearby. "Yes," Captain Minho let it go deliberately. "The galaxy needs to know what happened here." Jay nodded slowly. "The Council called us primitive. They looked at our technology and saw weakness. They did not understand that old does not mean weak. Projectile weapons, chemical rockets, fusion drives. We have used these things for so long that we have perfected them. What now? Yuna asked. Now we wait, Jay said. The galaxy is about to wake up. They are about to realize that underestimating humanity was the biggest mistake they ever made. In the Galactic Council chambers, alarms began to sound. Emergency messages arrived from the surviving Vrex ship, bringing data that seemed impossible. The council members gathered, watching the battle recordings in stunned silence. High Arbiter Velron watched the human ships destroy the Vrex fleet. He watched primitive weapons tear through advanced shields. He watched the species he had dismissed as harmless annihilate a military power that had conquered 100 worlds. Just humans, he whispered, remembering his own words. We called them just humans. The galaxy was about to learn what that really meant. The Galactic Council chambers had never been so quiet. 300 species, representatives from across the known galaxy, sat in complete silence as they watched the battle recordings for the third time. The destruction of the Vrex fleet played on screens throughout the chamber, each angle showing the same impossible result. High Arbiter Velron felt something he had not experienced in centuries: fear. The Vrex Dominion was a Tier 3 military power. They had ships, weapons, and shields that could stand against most Council forces. Yet the humans had destroyed them in less time than it took to eat a meal. This cannot be accurate, a reptilian counselor insisted. The data must be corrupted. Humans are primitive. The data has been verified 7 times, said Counselor Dreth, an insectoid with compound eyes that saw in spectrums humans could not imagine. Every analysis confirms the same conclusion. The humans won decisively. A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber, showing a human ship firing its railgun. The massive tungsten round crossed the distance in a fraction of a second, passing through Vrex shields as if they did not exist, then obliterating the ship behind them. How did we miss this? Someone asked. Dreth clicked his mandibles slowly, a sign of deep thought in his species. We did not miss it. We saw exactly what they showed us. Simple fusion drives, projectile weapons, chemical propulsion. All of it technically true, all of it misleading. Explain, Velron demanded. Their fusion drives are simple, yes, but they are also extraordinarily powerful and efficient. They showed us basic models and we assumed that was all they had. Their projectile weapons are primitive by design, but they fire them at speeds we thought impossible. They have perfected old technology instead of abandoning it for new. Another counselor spoke up, a floating gas cloud being with a translated voice. I have reviewed their history. For their entire civilization, humans fought each other constantly. Thousands of years of warfare. They developed weapons not to conquer space, but to fight themselves. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. A species that fought itself? The idea was disturbing. Most council species had achieved peace before reaching the stars. That explains their tactics, Dreth said. They do not fight like us. We have protocols, established methods, predictable strategies. They fight like hunters, like predators. Velron raised his hand for silence. What else do we know? A screen appeared showing Earth's solar system. Red dots marked positions throughout it. Our deep scans reveal that humans have built structures everywhere in their system. Orbital platforms, hidden shipyards, resource extraction operations on every planet and moon. We thought they were confined to their homeworld. We were wrong. How many ships do they have? Velron asked, dreading the answer. Unknown. Intelligence estimates between 200 and 500 warships, all hidden in various locations. The chamber exploded with shouts and arguments. Velron felt the weight of his failure crushing him. He had dismissed Earth without investigation. He had insulted them without understanding them. And now the galaxy faced a new power that they knew nothing about. The massive doors to the chamber opened. Everyone fell silent as a human walked in. Ambassador Junho Bayek was younger than Jay Kang, perhaps 30 years old, with hard eyes and a confident stride. He wore a simple dark uniform with Earth's symbol on the chest, a blue planet with white clouds. Behind him walked Admiral Hyun Seo, a woman with gray hair and medals on her uniform that marked her as a military commander. Ambassador Junho Bayek of Earth, Velron said, his voice carefully controlled. You arrive unannounced. We were not aware we needed an appointment, Junho said smoothly. We are not members of the council after all. You made that very clear. The rebuke hung in the air. Several counselors looked away in shame. What do you want? Velron asked. Junho smiled. It was not a warm smile. 6 months ago, Admiral J. Kang stood here and asked to join your council. You laughed at us. You called us primitive. You said we were just humans and sent us away. We may have been hasty, Velron admitted carefully. Hasty, Junho repeated. That is an interesting word for arrogance. But we are not here to discuss the past. We are here to discuss the future. Admiral Hyun Seo stepped forward. Behind her, visible through the chamber's windows, human warships appeared. Not 1 or 2, but 50. They took up positions around the council station in a clear demonstration of power. We have new terms, Junho said. Earth requests full council membership with all rights and privileges. We want unrestricted access to trade routes, technology exchanges, and defensive alliances. We want voting rights on all council matters. And if we refuse? Asked a counselor foolishly. Junho turned to look at the speaker. Then Earth will handle galactic affairs independently, without council oversight, without council agreements, without council restrictions. Is that what you want? The threat was clear. A human fleet with the power to destroy Virex warships operating without any control or accountability would be a nightmare for everyone. Some species will see this as aggressive, Velron said carefully. They will want to fight rather than submit to threats. Admiral Hyun Seo spoke for the first time. Her voice was calm but carried authority. We are not threatening anyone. We defended ourselves against the Vrex, that is all. But understand this. Humanity has watched your galaxy for 70 years. We know your strengths. We know your weaknesses. We know how you fight, how you think, how you negotiate. You know almost nothing about us. She gestured to the screens showing the battle. You saw what happened when the Vrex assumed they understood us. Do not make the same mistake. Counselor Dreth stood. I propose we accept Earth's terms. We need them more than they need us. The eastern borders face constant raids. The Shathar swarm grows stronger every year. Having humanity as an ally would be valuable. Arguments broke out immediately. Some agreed with Dreth. Others shouted about maintaining council dignity and not rewarding aggression. The chamber descended into chaos. Junho and Hyun Seo stood quietly waiting. They did not look worried or impatient. They simply waited, and their confidence was more intimidating than any threat. Finally, Velron called for order. We will vote. All in favor of granting Earth full council membership with the requested terms? The vote was close, but it passed. Fear and pragmatism won over pride. Earth is accepted as a full council member, Velron announced. Welcome to the Galactic Council, Ambassador Junho Baek. Junho nodded. We thank you for your wisdom. Earth looks forward to working with all council species for mutual benefit and security. As the meeting ended and counselors filed out, Velron approached Junho privately. I owe you and your people an apology. My dismissal of Earth was arrogant and foolish. Junho studied him for a moment. Yes, it was. But you have corrected your mistake. That shows wisdom. Perhaps we can move forward from here. May I ask something? Velron said. When Admiral J. Kang stood here 6 months ago, he seemed calm even as we insulted him. Did he know this would happen? Junho smiled slightly. Admiral Kang served in Earth's military for 40 years. He fought in 3 wars before we reached the stars. He knows how arrogance leads to defeat. He knew exactly how you would react, and he knew exactly what would happen next. He planned the Vrex attack. He predicted it. The Vrex representative was watching Earth's location during our first meeting. We knew they would come. We prepared for it. Junho paused. You called us primitive, Arbiter. You were wrong. We are not primitive. We are experienced. There is a difference. Admiral Hyun Seo joined them. The galaxy has been at peace for a long time. Peace makes people complacent. Earth never had that luxury. We had to stay sharp, stay ready, stay dangerous. That is not primitive. That is survival. As the humans left the chamber, Velron stood alone, looking at the stars. The galaxy had changed in 6 months. A new power had emerged, one that fought in ways the Council had forgotten. He hoped humanity would be a good ally, because he did not want to see what they were like as enemies. Outside, the 50 human warships maintained their positions, silent sentinels proving that Earth was no longer asking for permission. They were stating facts. The age of human dominance in the galaxy had begun, and everyone was still trying to understand what that meant. The emergency meeting was called 3 months after Earth joined the Galactic Council. High Arbiter Velron looked exhausted, his crystalline form dimmed with stress. Around him, counselors argued and shouted, their voices mixing into chaos. The eastern borders have collapsed, someone screamed. 12 worlds lost in 2 weeks. We need to evacuate the civilian populations. The fleet cannot hold them back. Velron raised his hands, calling for quiet. When the chamber finally settled, he spoke with grim determination. The Shathar swarm has broken through our defensive lines. 3 council fleets have been destroyed. Casualties number in the millions. On the screens, images showed the horror. The Shathar were a biological nightmare. Insect-like creatures that moved in billions, overwhelming everything through sheer numbers. They consumed entire planets, stripping them of resources, leaving nothing but dead rocks behind. They had been a border threat for centuries, but something had changed. They were organized now, coordinated and unstoppable. Where are our reinforcements? Demanded a counselor. There are none, Velron admitted. We have committed everything we have. It is not enough. Ambassador Junho Bayek stood. Earth has a defense treaty with the Council now. We are obligated to respond to threats against member worlds. With respect, Ambassador, Velron said carefully. The Shathar are unlike anything you have faced. They do not use ships or technology. They are biological weapons evolved over millions of years. They adapt quickly to any attack. Dozens of species have tried to stop them and failed. Junho looked at Admiral Hyun Seo, who sat nearby. She nodded slightly. We will send our first expeditionary force, Junho said. 20 carrier groups. We can be at the front in 3 days. The chamber went silent. 20 carrier groups meant 300 ships or more. Earth was committing its entire available fleet to help defend worlds that had insulted them months ago. You would do this? Velron asked quietly. After how we treated you? We are council members now, Junho said simply. Council members defend each other. Besides, humanity does not abandon fights just because they are difficult. 3 days later, Fleet Admiral Yun Tae stood on the bridge of the carrier horizon and watched the devastation ahead. The planet Kelros was dying. Shathar creatures swarmed across its surface like a living carpet. Their bioships, grown rather than built, filled the orbit in masses that blocked out the sun. Estimate 12 billion individual Shathar organisms, his tactical officer reported. Unknown number of support structures and hive ships. Yun Tae was 60 years old, a veteran of Earth's last civil war and the Mars Rebellion. He had seen terrible things in his life, but this was different. This was nature turned into a weapon, life made into death. All ships, this is Fleet Admiral Yun Tae. We are going in. Expect heavy resistance. Remember your training. Remember why we fight. The human fleet moved forward. Council observers, watching from a safe distance, expected the humans to use their railguns and missiles like they did against the Virex. They were wrong. Launch boarding teams, Yun Tae commanded. From the human carriers, thousands of small craft launched. They were not missiles. They were troop transports carrying human marines directly toward the Shathar hive ships. They are boarding? A council officer watching from a distance gasped. That is suicide. The Shathar will tear them apart. But Major Do-hyun Park, leading the first wave of Marines, knew something the Council did not. Humanity had spent centuries perfecting the art of close-quarters combat. The Shathar were deadly at range with their acid and biological weapons, but up close? That was human territory. The transport crashed into a hive ship, cutting through its soft exterior. Marines poured out wearing powered armor and carrying weapons the galaxy had not seen in centuries. Physical weapons, blades, guns that fired explosive rounds, flamethrowers that burned hot enough to melt steel. Do-Yoon led his squad into the organic corridors of the hive ship. Shathar creatures attacked immediately using claws and acid, but human armor was designed to withstand it. And human reflexes, enhanced by combat drugs and neural implants, were faster than the Shathar expected. Clear the corridor, Do-Hyun shouted. His squad moved with practiced efficiency, covering each other, advancing steadily. When a Shathar warrior creature charged, he met it with a plasma blade, cutting it in half. The galaxy had forgotten that war could be personal. They fought at distance with ships and energy beams. Humans remembered that sometimes you had to look your enemy in the eye. While the Marines attacked the hive ships directly, Dr. Minji Kwan worked on the flagship. She was a xenobiologist, one of Earth's best, and she had been studying the Shathar since the crisis began. Admiral, I need a live specimen, she told Yun Tae. A soldier cast, preferably injured but alive. That is a dangerous request, Doctor. I know, but I think I have found something. The Shathar use pheromones to coordinate. If I can analyze them, I might be able to disrupt their organization. Yun-Tai made a decision. Major Park, we need a live Shathar. Can you bring one back? On the hive ship, Do-Yun heard the request and laughed. You hear that, team? The doc wants a pet bug. Let us get her one. Capturing a live Shathar was incredibly dangerous, but human Marines had trained for years in impossible situations. They cornered a soldier caste, damaged its legs so it could not escape, and dragged it back to their transport while fighting off dozens of others. Dr. Minji Kwan received the specimen in a sealed containment unit. She worked for 20 hours straight, ignoring her exhaustion, studying the creature's biology, analyzing its chemical signals. Finally, she found it. The Shathar Queen controlled the swarm through complex pheromone commands. But the signals were biological, which meant they could be replicated. And if they could be replicated, they could be changed. I need access to our chemical weapons division, she told Yun-Tai. I can create a counter pheromone. It will make the Shathar think their queen is telling them to retreat, to scatter, to stop coordinating. How long will it take? 12 hours to synthesize enough for battlefield use. Do it. The Council fleet, what remained of it, watched in confusion as human ships stopped their direct attacks and seemed to wait. What were they doing? The Shathar continued to swarm, consuming another planet, growing stronger. Then the human ships released clouds of gas. It spread through space, invisible, odorless to most species. But to the Shathar, it was the voice of their queen, screaming commands that made no sense. Retreat, scatter, fight each other. Abandon the hive. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The massive Shathar swarm broke apart. Billions of organisms suddenly lost their coordination. They attacked each other, confused and panicked. The hive ships, no longer receiving correct pheromone commands, began to die. All ships resume attack. Yun-Tai commanded. Hit them while they are disorganized. The human fleet struck with devastating efficiency. Railguns tore through hive ships. Missiles with biological weapons designed specifically to kill Shathar organisms spread through the swarm. Flamethrower drones burned through the scattered masses. In 48 hours, the entire Shathar front collapsed. What the Galactic Council could not stop in 6 months, Earth neutralized in 2 days. Major Do-Hyun Park stood on the bridge of his carrier, his armor covered in Shathar blood and burns. He was exhausted but victorious. Admiral, all boarding teams have returned. Casualties are 20%, but we won. Yun-Tai nodded. 20% casualties were heavy, but they had saved billions of lives on Council worlds. Send a message to Council Command. Tell them the Shathar threat on the eastern border has been eliminated. On the Council station, Velron received the report and could not believe it. He read it 3 times, checking the data, verifying the sources. Then he sat down slowly, the weight of understanding crushing him. They beat the Shathar, he said to Councillor Dreth, who stood nearby. In 2 days. Something we have been fighting for centuries they solved in 2 days. Dreth clicked his mandibles. They did not fight like us. They boarded the hive ships directly. They used biological weapons. They adapted faster than the Shathar could evolve. This is what happens when a species grows up fighting itself. They learn every possible way to win. Admiral Yun-Tai sent his official report to the Council that evening. It was brief and clinical, listing facts and statistics, but he included one paragraph that everyone remembered. The Council asked how Earth defeated the Shathar so quickly. The answer is simple. The Shathar evolved over millions of years to fight energy weapons and advanced technology. They adapted to overcome shields and plasma beams. But they never fought a species that still believed in bullets, blades, and boarding actions. They never faced an enemy that would meet them face to face in their own ships. The galaxy forgot that sometimes the oldest weapons are still the most effective. In the Council chambers, Velron read the report aloud. When he finished, the room was silent. Finally, someone spoke. What have we brought into the galaxy? Dreth answered. Something we desperately needed. Warriors who remember what war actually means. 1 year had passed since Earth ships first appeared at the Galactic Council. Admiral J. Kang stood in his new office overlooking the Council station and thought about how much had changed. His title now was Council Security Director, a position created specifically for him after humanity's victory over the Shathar. Outside his window, ships from a dozen different species flew in organized formations, human officers training them in new tactics. Earth shipyards built throughout the solar system now produced vessels for allied species, combining human engineering with alien technology. Still seems strange, does it not? Ambassador Unipark said, entering his office. She carried a data pad with the day's reports. A year ago they called us primitive. Now they come to us for help. Jay smiled slightly. Pride is an expensive teacher. The galaxy learned quickly. Una handed him the pad. The Alteran Empire wants to purchase 50 destroyers. The Kalori are asking for military advisors. The Vrex Dominion, what remains of it, has requested a peace treaty and trade agreements. The Vrex? Jay raised an eyebrow. After we destroyed their fleet? They are pragmatic. They know they cannot fight us, so they want to join us. Warlord Thex was executed by his own people for the failed invasion. The new leadership understands their position. Jay nodded slowly. The galaxy was reorganizing itself around Earth's presence. Some species welcomed it, seeing humanity as protectors. Others resented it but accepted reality. A few still plotted against Earth, but they were careful to hide their intentions. In the council chambers, High Arbiter Velron called a special session. The topic was the Terran Accord, a new treaty that would establish Earth as one of 5 great powers in the galaxy. The other 4, the Alteran Empire, the Kalori Federation, the Draxian Commonwealth, and the United Colonies, had all agreed to the terms. This is unprecedented, Velron told the assembled council. Never in our history has a species risen so quickly to such prominence. Earth joined us 1 year ago as new members. Now they stand among the greatest powers in known space. Because they saved us, Councillor Dreth said simply. They stopped the Shathar when we could not. They proved their worth. A younger councillor, representing a species that had not been threatened by the Shathar, spoke up. But should we trust them so completely? They are still violent. Their history is filled with wars. Fleet Admiral Yun Tae, attending the session as Earth's military representative, stood to respond. Yes, humanity fought many wars. We killed each other for thousands of years over resources, beliefs, and territory. Our history is soaked in blood. He paused, looking around the chamber. But we learned from every war. We learned what works and what does not. We learned to be efficient, creative, and adaptable. When the Shathar came, we knew exactly what to do because we had done it before, just against ourselves. That does not sound reassuring, the young councillor said. Admiral Hyun Seo, sitting next to Yun Tae, spoke. Would you prefer we had no experience? That we did not know how to fight? The galaxy was peaceful for so long that you forgot how to defend yourselves. When the Shathar attacked, your fleets fell because they used the same tactics for centuries. We won because we never stopped innovating, never stopped preparing. Ambassador Junho Bayek added his voice. Earth does not want to conquer anyone. We want trade, cooperation, and mutual defense. But we will not apologize for being good at survival. The universe is dangerous. Peace is maintained through strength, not wishes. The vote passed with strong support. The Terran Accord was signed by all 5 great powers, establishing Earth's position and responsibilities. Humanity would help maintain galactic security, train allied forces, and share defensive technology. In return, Earth gained access to alien science, expanded trade rights, and political influence. After the ceremony, Velron approached Jay privately. I need to say something that has bothered me since our first meeting. When I dismissed you, when I called humans just humans, you smiled. You knew even then that we would end up here, did you not? Jay considered the question carefully. I knew the galaxy underestimated us. I knew that underestimation would lead to opportunities. The Vrex attack was predictable. Our victory was certain. What came after? That depended on how the Council responded. You manipulated us. No, Jay said firmly. We gave you the truth and you drew your own conclusions. You saw primitive technology and assumed primitive minds. That was your error, not our deception. Velron nodded slowly, accepting the distinction. What now? Where does humanity go from here? We continue to learn. The galaxy has knowledge we need. Medical science, physics, energy manipulation. We have much to gain from cooperation. But we also have much to teach. The galaxy forgot how to fight, how to think like warriors, how to survive against enemies who do not follow rules. We remember, and we will share that knowledge. In Earth's shipyards near Jupiter, Captain Airy Song walked through the corridors of a new vessel under construction. She was 28 years old, one of the youngest captains in the fleet, and she had been chosen to command the Unity, a ship that represented everything humanity had become. The Unity was massive, built with Earth's engineering, but incorporating technology from 6 different species. Its crew would be mixed, humans working alongside Alteran, Kalori, and others. It was a symbol of cooperation but also a statement of power. "Captain Song," an engineer called out, "we need your approval on the weapon systems. The Alteran want to add their plasma cannons, but our people think it will compromise the railgun performance." Ari examined the schematics. "Install both. We do not have to choose. Human kinetic weapons for shields, Alteran plasma for armor. Use the right tool for each situation. That will make us slower to construct, but more effective in combat," Ari countered. "Speed of construction means nothing if the ship cannot do its job. Take the time to do it correctly." The engineer nodded and went back to work. Ari continued her inspection, thinking about the mission ahead. The Unity would lead an expedition into unknown space, exploring regions the Council had mapped but never thoroughly investigated. There were threats out there, civilizations that might be hostile. Earth wanted to meet them first on humanity's terms. Back on Earth, in the city of Seoul, a museum opened dedicated to the last year's events. Citizens came to see the recordings of the Vrex battle, the Shathar campaign, and the signing of the Terran Accord. But the most popular exhibit was a simple display near the entrance. It showed Admiral J. Kang standing in the Council chambers 1 year ago, listening to High Arbiter Velron dismiss humanity as just humans. The recording played on a loop, and beneath it was a plaque with words that had become Earth's unofficial motto. They called us just humans like it was an insult. They did not realize that being human meant we never stopped fighting, learning, and adapting. And that makes all the difference. Children visiting the museum asked their parents what it meant. The answers varied, but they all came down to the same lesson. Never underestimate someone who survives despite the odds. Never dismiss someone who keeps trying despite failures. And never ever assume that old methods are weak methods. In the Council chambers, a new saying spread among the different species. It was translated into hundreds of languages, but the meaning remained the same. Be careful when you meet someone who calls themselves just human. They have survived themselves. Everything else is practice. Admiral J. Kang heard about the saying and laughed. "Perfect," he told Yuna. "Let them remember that." Across the galaxy, human teachers trained alien soldiers. Human engineers helped build better ships. Human doctors shared medical techniques, and human diplomats negotiated treaties that prevented wars before they started. But everyone knew the truth. Humanity had changed the galaxy forever, not through conquest or domination, but by being exactly what they always were. Survivors who refused to quit, warriors who adapted to any challenge, and explorers who looked at the unknown and said, "Why not?" Captain Ari Song stood on the completed bridge of the Unity 6 months later. Her crew, a mix of humans and aliens, worked together smoothly. They had trained hard, learned each other's strengths, and built trust. "All systems ready, Captain," her first officer reported. He was Alteran, his crystalline form reflecting the bridge lights. "Set course for the unknown regions," Ari commanded. "Let us see what else is out there." As the Unity jumped to faster-than-light speed, leaving Council space behind, Ari thought about everything humanity had accomplished. 1 year ago they were dismissed as primitive. Now they led the galaxy's most advanced exploration vessel into the darkness, seeking new challenges, new knowledge, and new friends. High Arbiter Velron watched the Unity depart from the Council station. Next to him stood Counselor Dreth. "Do you think they will find trouble out there?" Velron asked. Dreth clicked his mandibles in amusement. "Probably, and I pity whatever finds them first. The humans do not fear the unknown. They embrace it. That is what makes them special." Velron thought back to his first meeting with Admiral J. Kang, remembering his arrogance and dismissal. He had learned a valuable lesson since then, one he would never forget. "Just humans," he said softly, shaking his head. "We should have asked more questions." "Yes," Dreth agreed. "But perhaps it is better this way."